Okay, we are going to get started with our Club Q kit, and this one is called Time for the Fun Stuff. DP1460 is the item number, and we are going to go ahead and get started. And as always, we have suggestions for powder puff chalking inks. We have barnboard, sandstone, and cool gray. There's lots of colors that will match this paper line though, so if you have a stash of powder puff chalking inks, you grab the colors that will work for you. I actually am going to use let's see, what do I have here? I have a yellow, which is Chunky Monkey. I have an orange. I'm trying to grab them here. I got them all stuck together. I have Sunset, which is kind of like terracotta. If you have, mine's a little used, but terracotta. What's the other? Mango Mai Tai. Lots of different colors that would match with this kit. So any blues, greens, yellows, even some oranges would fit in there. So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and punch your die cuts out. One thing that I do want to mention with your die cuts, these all get punched out here. These are actually pieces we use, so these two strips right in the middle. Just wanted to catch you before you threw this away, because it doesn't look like a negative, like it might just be a scrap, but we actually, you might want to use scissors on these very ends here. But these two strips we will be using in the kit, so don't throw those away. Another die cut that I want to show you is the clocks. These are actually meant to have a photo behind them and then put onto the backer. What you do is you use your clock first, you lay this onto your photo, trace around the outside. You can trim out your circle from your photo, glue this onto your photo, then glue that onto your backer like that. Or you can just use them as an embellishment, just like they are in the instructions here. But it looks really cute with a photo behind them, so that's one thing that you can do with these die cuts. Set those aside until you have a picture to put behind them if you want to use them for a picture. And then we will get our background paper to begin with. And grab it here. It's the one with green on the back and clocks all over the front. And then we just layer it up from there. Make sure it's all in the camera for you. Okay, so once you have all of your die cuts punched out, you can definitely chalk them up as you go, or hit pause if you want to chalk them all up at one time. Another thing with the die cuts, these frames, we don't use this inside piece, but these are really good pieces to use on another kit. So maybe, oops, I just tore mine. Maybe use your scissors to get that out of there. But maybe save these because they could be good either photo backers, or you could cut them into tags. Use them with your extra paper pack that you get with Club Q. So once you punch those out, we are just using the frames. But I would save those good pieces for another kit. I need to use my own advice here and trim with scissors so I don't tear it. And then I always start with the cutting diagrams. This one has only one thing to cut. So we are going to get, in just a second, the two white pieces. Get these all ready to go. And then we'll get our trimmer out and get all of that out of the way. So these are really great pieces to use on another kit, possibly. Would look good on with some of your paper packs, just as photo backers on there. So hang on to those if you want to use those. Your frames are punched out, all your die cuts punched out, and then we have 2 pieces of white paper, and I think they're 4 by 12. We're going to cut those into 4 by 6s, so right down the middle. And I believe this is the only cut that we will be making with our trimmer on this one. Some of them have a few diagrams, some of them have none. This one is really simple with just 1. So put these together, put it into 6 inches, and then cut those down. You end up with 4 by 6s. And then we can get our trimmer out of the way. And oops, then we will get started. And I love this kit because it's colorful. You could give it a more vintage look if you use some browns, like maybe an amaretto chalking ink on it. But it's very colorful, and you can match this with lots of different kinds of pictures. So what we're going to do is actually start with page 1. Let's layer up our clocks, and it is easiest if you have a glue pen, because these are some really small kind of intricate die cuts, and then just put maybe a little bit of glue on the back of here, just little dots. You don't have to cover the entire thing. Glue that onto there. We're just going to do all of these. Actually, this goes on this page, so I'm going to lay it over here. Your other gray one with the full clock. Just a few dots of glue pen, which I don't have my glue pen here, so I'm going to just pretend. This one goes on this page. And then we have a gray half piece, and there is a white half clock that is going to go on just like this, and it goes up to the left corner, and it will go behind one of your photo frames. Okay, we have a more colorful one that is going to match up onto one of the white circles. And the last one is the smallest. It's one of the colorful ones onto a white background. Okay, once you have all those glued together, we will move them kind of out of the way and get other things onto the page before we glue those down. The other thing that we need to glue together is your frames here. And again, chalk these up as you go, or hit pause. Chalk up all your frames before you put them on. When you put these on, make sure, if you don't have your pictures with you, make sure you don't glue this entire thing down. Maybe just do just a couple of corners or just across the top so that you can lift this up and put photos in later. And this goes on top of this clock. You can always glue these together and then place them later. I like to lay things out on my page, make sure I have them where I want them to go. Then I go back through and I use adhesive and glue everything down. Okay, small white frame onto a gray background. And that one in the photo is kind of tucked up underneath here. And again, you make sure that you don't glue your frame completely down if you don't have your pictures. it looks like also on our photo, we have the edges chalked. There's some yellows, some blues. So I am going to chalk this up a little bit. Just gives it a little extra color. Move these out of the way for right now. And this goes on top of here. And again, you lay this out how you would like, and then you glue it down, because we have some other things that we're going to tuck underneath here. Okay, with each die cut, you have a green one, a kind of a corally pink color, and blue, and a yellow. With each one, you have two long strips. Those are going to go across the bottom. Then you have each one has two that are about, let's see, I'm going to measure this actually. These are about 4 1/4. So there's two in each color that are 4 1/4. And those ones we are going to set aside for page 2. Then we have all the strips. What is left over is actually what we're going to use for these little banners up here. So you have, blue is the shortest, and I just realized the only other cutting thing, which I normally have cut out before I start the video, but we will have to cut one more piece of paper because it has all the quotes on there. So each one of these, they get about 1/4 inch bigger as you go down. So find those, and then we are going to, I'm going to bring my trimmer back in here for a second. And we are going to cut out all the words that we need to use for this one. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to cut right at the top of the long strips so that there's still just a little bit of white above that coral color strip. So you can see I left just a little bit of white above there. Then I'm going to cut just barely below there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cut it right down the middle, because once we chalk it, well, no, let's see. Yeah, just barely below. We'll leave just a little strip of white along the bottom. Also, this is kind of hard to get lined up, but once you get it, be good. Okay, so I have just a little white on the bottom, little white on the top. I'm going to move it down and do the same for the next one. When it gets skinny like this, it gets a little harder to line up and hang on to. So a little bit of white. And if you don't leave any of the white above and below, that's fine too. That will work just fine. Because I actually chalk it up anyway, and you can't really see the white. I just like to have that part to be able to put some color on there. And then I'm going to just use my scissors to trim the ends right at the coral part. And then I'm going to trim out the journaling piece. And just right at the edge of that. And if you leave white around it, that's totally fine, because you just chalk it up. Or you could trim it all the way down if you want. I I left a little white around it, but then I just take my chalking ink. I'm going to use the orange colored one. And add a little color on the edge. And you don't even see that. So for these, you can either take your trimmer and trim each one. I'm going to actually just cut it by hand. Some people love to fussy cut. Some people hate it. I don't mind doing it on a few little things like this. It just seems easier than getting it set up in your trimmer. So I'm going to just trim them out as I go. But this is totally up to you. You can just go down each line and then take your scissors and cut the little V at the end if you like. A little crooked. And if I do cut it a little crooked on these things, I also don't worry about it too much because I just take my chalk inks and I make it just a little messier with my chalks, and then you can't tell that it's not straight across. I'm sorry if you can hear my kids in the background. They're actually outside playing and I can still hear them, so. They think since the door's shut that nobody can hear them in here. Maybe we'll hear them telling a good story. Okay, so once you get all those cut out, then we are done with our trimmer. You can move that out of the way. Chalk these up as you would like, and make sure that it actually says the words in the right order. I'm going to chalk them up with a little yellow. This one is Emerald Forest. So I'm kind of just grabbing different colors. That's what's great about this line, is that you can use all different colors. There's an orange. And then I'm going to use yellow again on the last one. And those you want to go so that I cut that one a little crooked. I'm going to straighten it out. I didn't go along the lines. So adhere that on like that. You can have some sticking out over the edge there because it just tucks right underneath here. A little adhesive behind here. Glue that on. Mine's going to stick up a little bit because I don't have the adhesive on there, but you can get the picture here. Glue that one on. Oops. And the last one, take time for the fun stuff. Okay, once you have that on, we will make our little strips across the bottom. So for each page, you will need a green, a pink, a yellow, and a blue. And I am going to just show you how to make one of them here. So we are going to take the blue, and I'm going to check and see how far up to put that. Okay, 2.5 inches up from the bottom. So if you want to measure 2.5 inches up from the bottom, your blue one goes across there. And this really can be in abouts. There's nothing that says that it has to be 2.5 inches. So if you have it down a little further or up a little further, no biggie. Okay, so your next one is yellow. And again, chalk these up if you like. Add a little color. There's a little orange. And that one is going to go about 1/2 inch, so a 1/2 inch of the blue is showing. Once you have that glued down, we glue the pink one right underneath of it. Just like that. And mine is down just a little bit from what it is in the picture. If you want a little less of these colors showing, you can just overlap these a little bit. This green one is going to go right in the middle there. So if you want a skinnier piece of yellow and pink showing, go ahead and just overlap those. We are going to use our brads to attach your words to the green piece. So your brads come in a little bag like this. We try to keep them all organized, all the embellishments in a little bag so they're easy to find. We're going to use 2 of them. These are really little. Oops. 1 on each end. So get this centered on there, and then it goes right through the end here. You can use your paper piercer and poke a hole first if you want. I might do that with my scissors here. Once you get it kind of lined up. And then turn it around, put the other one in the other end. Oops, went a little too far. There we go. Oh, what did I do with my other one? Oh, here it is. These are small and easy to lose. And then once you have that together, what I did is I actually used pop dots behind here. So I popped this up off the page a little bit. And then it makes more of a pocket to stick your clocks down into. Or you can just put adhesive across the bottom, which means the top is left with an opening for you to slide those in. But in my actual sample, I used pop dots and I popped this off the page a little bit. Okay, so then once you have that on, you can tuck your clocks right down into here. And again, it just depends on what photos you're putting in here. If there's a photo that you don't want to cover up the edge of this, you can move things around. Make it your own. Just kind of do your own thing. And page 1 is complete. Very, very simple page, but I love it because there's so much color. On page 2, we are going to do the same setup, And what makes it easy is that you don't have to measure anything anymore. Just leave your page next to it and you will line these up so that it is even with your first page. And it's set up exactly the same as your first page. And again, you attach this and then you pop it up with either pop dots, or you can still leave it as a little pocket. It's up to you. Your brads go on the ends here. And your two of each color, these just kind of get spread out across the top. So use whichever color you'd like first. I used blue, yellow, pink, green. So blue, yellow, pink. And I get these laid out a little bit so I can see how I want it. Spread it out a little bit so you can see, and then I pick up the ends and glue them down. But you do whatever's easiest for you. And in my photo, so you can either spread them out like this. In my photo, I actually moved these yellow down, this one up, this one down. So you just decide how you like them. And then what I did, I got them in place, and then I picked this up. Actually, I started on this side, I think. And I just picked this up like this. I put a little dot of glue behind here, laid those back down, and then I got these back in place, picked these up from this end, put a little spot of glue, laid them back down. Or you can glue them individually and just lay them down as you go. Your journaling piece goes over top of that. You have a white backer with a frame. And remember not to glue the frame all the way down unless you have your picture in there. And when I put these things down, I really just put a little bit of adhesive right in the middle so that if I do want to slide anything in behind here, I can. It's up to you how much adhesive you want to use, but I usually just put a little bit in the middle. And then once I get my pages into my page protector, they lay flat, so I don't use a ton of adhesive. So this one actually does slide right in behind here, or you can leave it out a little bit. You can definitely chalk up the edges. This gets tucked in here, and the other clock gets tucked in here. Now with these clocks, you can put a quote inside here. You can use these. These are actually meant for photos, so you can put a photo in each of these clocks on the inside. What I would do if you're using a photo is take this piece and trace it onto your photo and cut out your photo to put right in there. Or you can trace this just on the inside, use just the inside of that. This is a pretty skinny little piece there, so you might want to put the photo all the way. And they can be used just for decoration too, so if you've already glued them down, no worries, they look really cute just as a little embellishment on there. But that's one reason I don't glue everything down from the beginning, is because by the end of it, I'm thinking, oh, I have a photo that goes here, or I have a photo that would fit this, or I want to move this around. So I wait until I have it all laid out on my page. Have your pictures handy if you can. If not, just barely tack things down so that you can put pictures in them later. But very simple kit. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you so much for being a Club Q member.